What are the best odds to bet on? And if we're answering that question, what are the worst odds to bet on? My name's Tom Brownlee from Bookie Bashing, and if this sounds like a nonsensical question, maybe one asked by an amateur or a beginner bettor or a 9-year-old girl, because that's where I got this question from, then maybe let's think twice. Is it as stupid as it appears? I'm now going to look at Bet365 lines for player shots on target in the Liverpool versus Tottenham game tonight. And what we see first is that Archie Gray is 7-1 to get a shot on target or more, the over 0.5, and he's 1-12, a massive favourite to get no shots on target, the under 0.5. But Brennan Johnson and Richarlison, they're much more likely. Richarlison is 5-6 on both sides. He's 5-6 to get one or more shots on target. He's 5-6 to get none. You could maybe assume that makes him a coin flip, that the fair odds of him getting one or more shots on target is 50%, and that's why we're getting 5-6 on both sides. So what I've done is I've taken all of these different sets of odds and I've put them in this table, and we can see that 1.4 for the over and 2.75 for the under has a margin, which is Bet365's operating profit, of 107.79%. We can calculate that by taking the reciprocal of both sides, 1 divided by 1.4 plus 1 divided by 2.75. So on average, in the long run, Bet365 will make about 7.8% margin on this bet, assuming you've got no skill, assuming there's no bias. Now, as the odds change, so does the margin. We get all the way up to 1.8, 1.83. The margin is now 108, 109%. It's climbed. We can see that from this first graph where I've plotted all of the odds on numbers up to the coin flip of 1.83. We're as low as 106% down at 1.5, but we're as high as 109% up at 1.83. And after 1.83, the margin starts to decrease from that high of 109% all the way down to a low of 104.16%. Now, can we use this information to make money, and can we prove that? Well, not necessarily make money, but we might be able to lose less money. Let's plot it all on the same graph. So here is all of that information on the same graph. And what stands out for me, other than trying to come up with a cheesy trend line where I'm trying to work out what the margin will be based off the probability, but forgetting about that trend line, I can see that one of those odds is an outlier. It's the one that's sitting right at the top at 109%. In fact, it's the one that's 5-6 on both sides. Why would Bet365 be offering so much more margin on a bet that's 5-6 on both sides? I don't have all the answers for that, other than bets around even may tend to be more popular. They may take more money and they may want to maximize the profit. But if we look at the flip side of the coin, this bet all the way down here at 0.1 at 1 to 10 has only 104% margin. Now, what is the difference betting long term with a margin of 109% and a margin of 104%? Let's assume we have no skill. Let's assume we've absolutely no skill, and that the fair probability of the coin flip happening is obviously 50-50, and down at 1 to 10, if we apply our 104% margin, we might have somewhere in the region 91% chance of that hitting. So let's run that 40,000 times, betting £1 on both of those and letting the fair probability run its course over a very, very large sample size. What we see is this graph here. And on this graph here, we can see that we've lost money with both strategies. Of course we have. We're sort of betting blindly, and Bet365 have to make a profit out of us, so we're always going to lose money. But we lose much less money betting at 9-1 than we do betting at evens. In fact, with our £40,000 staked, we've lost £3,117 at evens. We've only lost £1,850 when betting on the 9-1 underdog. That does tie in with the margins that they're applying. It's around about a -8% return on investment at evens and a -4% return on investment betting on the underdog. So what's going on here, and what are the assumptions to be made? Just perhaps there's less margin on those bets with a very, very heavy underdog and a very, very heavy favourite, because Bet365 are applying all of the margin to one side. It's something known as fave long shot bias, and very, very little down at 1 to 10, because few people bet high stakes at 1 to 10. But that could then suggest that if we want to lose less money betting blindly, then the odds that we want to bet at are down at 1 to 10, 1 to 5, 1 to 3, those kind of bets, because we'll be paying less, possibly even no margin. We might not necessarily be winning, but we're not losing as much over the long run. Does that mean that we can simply print money by switching our strategy into betting on these heavy odds on favourites? Well, perhaps, just perhaps, were we to do that, then the risk of restrictions at the bookmaker becomes significantly increased, and there is some trade-off between maximising our profits with the amount of margin that we're paying and having the account survive in the long run to be able to make any money whatsoever. But are there good and bad odds to bet at? Well, a coin flip either side seems to be pretty bad, and heavy odds on favourites certainly seem to pay the piper less tunage.